Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. We'll be talking about this upcoming Senate elections. Of course, the nominations are in. We'll be talking about the kind of makeup that we can expect in the Senate after the nominations, as far as the numbers are concerned, as far as the different political parties are concerned. What can we expect from the kind of candidature that has been fielded by every political party, and what that means for the future of the Senate and the makeup of it. A little later on, we'll also be talking about, of course, Indian funding of the TTP through Afghan Proxies. We've also, of course, had seen 5 army soldiers being martyred in the Waziristan attack. And of course, we will be talking about the overall effect of terrorism and insurgency that we've seen coming from across the border, particularly. All of that today on Perspective. I have with me Ali Rashid, who is a leader PPP. Thank you for being with us. We have with us Irfan Ghauri, who's a senior analyst. Thank you for joining us. We'll also be joined by other guests during the course of the program. Let me start with Ali. Ali, there is overall, of course, we know that the nominations, as far as the PPP is concerned, some of the very old senators have this time been excluded by the PPP. The makeup, it seems, is going to be interesting in that regard. How do you look at that?
Absolutely, you'll see some new faces which are coming from PPP, and some older people who have been in the Senate a few times and are of age now. As Bilawal Bhutto has said in the past, that we're focusing on the youth and bringing them forward. So as you'll see, that majority of the people are young people, and they're people who have worked in the party. And you'll see a lot of new faces, and once in Senate, they'll contribute and do some good work with a new zeal and with new ideas, be more innovative and youthful ideas, etc.
Right, fair enough. Let me go to Irfan Saab. I'll come back to Irfan Saab. Also, as far as all political parties are concerned, if we look at the PMLN also, the kind of candidates that we are looking at, what is your overall, what are your thoughts on the kind of people that have been nominated by each particular political party in this particular election?
Thank you very much, MAHRUKH. And this is, it will be, of course, a combination, right? I mean, we would be seeing some old faces and the newcomers, that's as always, but there would be some faces that are very experienced, we might not see them. But still, I would say that when you are, like if you take example of PMLN, when you are in power, the dynamics are totally different. Like you would see that many candidates who are not originally PMLN members are the party members, the party would be backing them. Similarly, maybe People's Party might back them in Punjab. I'm talking about the Interior Minister, I'm talking about the Finance Minister, similarly Chima Saab and some other names who are originally not the the PMLN guys, but PMLN would be supporting them. They are coming as of the information available to us now, they would be as independent, they are contesting as independents. But on PTI side, because it's in opposition and they need the people who are more vocal, and the ones who are, who had been standing with the party in the tough times. I'm giving you examples. I don't know if these nominations would be accepted or not, like Murad Saeed, who is, in hiding. Similarly,
Azam Sawat. Thoughts on this, as far as the PTI is concerned and their particular choice of candidates are concerned? It seems to be, some of they seem to have fielded what they term as hawks in the Senate.
I don't think, I'm not saying that they are terming them as hawks. It's the media reports, when we interpret them like that. But Of course, they are the vocal voices, and also the ones who have been, going through difficult times, like Dr. Yasmin Rashid from Punjab, Sanam Javed from Punjab. These are the women who have been, after the May 9 incident, I mean, unfortunate incident. After that, they have been facing different difficulties. Similarly, Azam Swati and these people. But this is also, when the parties are in opposition, and in such cases, this is to boost the morale of the party. If you ignore those people, that means that, when there is a time that you have to be, you have to show your strong muscle and these things, then you need those people and you have to back those people. It would be seen if their nominations are accepted, because, there would be many legalities involved in that.
You mean, and also there's, of course, the legalities are going to be an issue, or may prove to be an issue, we don't know. But there's also an issue as far as some of these members are concerned. There's a certain controversiality associated with some of these names also. Isn't that true?
Yeah, that's true. And of course, the legal cases are involved. I mean, and some of them, they are behind the bars, and this would be a very serious issue. And I think the PTI might have also fiddled the covering candidates as well, in case they. And we hope that PTI won't repeat the mistakes that, sort of, when they prove to be politically naive when they made certain decisions, like, when they went with SIC, Sunni Thought Council. But then later on in the courts, it emerged that the party itself didn't contest, and that became the reason that PTI couldn't get the reserve seats. So, I mean, we have to see that.
Irfan Sahib, let me come back to you. I'll go to Ali Rashid. Ali, there's also, when we're talking about the PTI as a political party, we've also seen things like, as far as the PTI leadership, current leadership is concerned, they're talking about a lot of corruption within, for example, KP. For them to make statements like this now, what does it indicate? Is there, does this indicate more rifts within the party? What does it mean? Are they saying that the old PTI or old members of PTI are they're attributing responsibility there? To what do you give credence to these remarks?
Absolutely, I think there are definitely rifts there, and as you mentioned, the people who they have nominated for Senate are controversial themselves, but also the kind of statements which are being given by leaders of PTI are also a bit making it even more controversial. If you see, Asad Kaisar Sahab said something about that these candidates were not the choice of the founder of the party, Mr. Imran Khan. He said that these candidates have been nominated without taking him into confidence. Now, if he's saying something like that, I don't know what the truth is, but that's clear. If such statements are coming from top leaders of the party, then there is something wrong. There are definitely rifts, and it's making the entire process controversial. And generally also, I think if you look at other statements from different, Ali Zafar Saab would make some other statement, then Sher Afzal Marwat would say something else to totally different. They're not on the same page. So it's just a bit confusing, but yeah, definitely rift. I would agree with that.
Irfan Sahib, do you think it's possible? I mean, what Ali is saying, of course, for these statements to be made that these candidates are not the choice of the former chairman of PTI, Imran Khan Saab, is it, indicative that perhaps the control overall of his control over the party itself may have become an issue?
MAHRUKH, I don't think that there is anybody other than Imran Khan who is PTI itself. When it comes to PTI, it's Imran Khan who has the final say. But the thing is that for Imran Khan, we know that one day he takes one decision and the other day he might take another decision, and that is based on the consultations of the people he has been making with. If somebody has met him because he is in the jail,
You're saying
I mean,
that erraticness, or as far as is part of the former chairman Imran Khan himself, that decisions are perhaps taken and then are retaken, and that is a part of his own decision making process.
It's also, the party doesn't have PTI. Unfortunately, there is no doubt that PTI has emerged as a party with a very huge vote bank. But when it comes to the party structure, the organization of the party, we see that it is very weak in that respect. And the process of consultations, like a few days back, a meeting of their core committee meeting, what the reports have come out from there, that the leaders of PTI, there was lots of infighting between them. Exchange of harsh words, and then and we don't know who is the actual spokesman of the party. When one person claims to be the spokesman, the other comes with a different statement, and he claims to be the spokesperson. So, and since Imran Khan Sahab himself is behind the bars, and and the party didn't have the proper structure, so this is the result of that. And we have been seeing that this was this also caused this damage of the reserve seats to them, because that decision as well, they didn't take. They took the decision, or that there were reports that they are going with the Wadat al-Muslimin, Majlis Wadat al-Muslimin, and then all of a sudden there was a change of mind. We don't know what happened to that, but ultimately it cost them the seats. And those seats, they matter, because in parliamentary democracy we know that it's the numbers that matter. And it was not only one assembly, it was National Assembly and the provincial assemblies as well. So they had a great loss because of the lack of coordination, or you can say maybe they proved to be naive when it came to such decisions.
Right, fair enough. Ali, as far as the PMLN is concerned and their choice of candidates at this time, there are a lot of candidates. Of course, we don't know if some of them are going to be independent or not, but there are also candidates that are, not the traditional amalgam of the party. Do you think it's a bid to maybe include different kind of people into perhaps the nominated net of seats that are being given, or what do you attribute it?
Well, I think it's good to have a different mix of people, and it is something which is always welcome, because different people bring different perspectives, and it is always welcome. But I think that is something which we're not discussing or talking about. Some interesting development in Sindh from MQM side. MQM has second-hand proposers have nominated Faisal Wavda, who's not a part of MQM, but he's a great guy, great choice. But that's an interesting development which we didn't really talk about. So
I was just going to come to it, but since you've mentioned it.
Yeah,
yes.
So that was pretty interesting. So the second-hand proposer, when you are nominating even an independent person, has to be nominated from an MPA. And the second-hand proposers of Mr. Wavda, who's a great guy, by the way, are from MQM. So that was something, which I found very interesting.
But Irfan sir, what are your thoughts on this? Of course, we all know Borda Saab as far as, his political background and his, of course, his predictions also as far as the political scene is concerned. What are your thoughts on this nomination to have come from MQM?
It's not only the political background. I think it's also a matter of connections, I would say, to be more frank. And but of course, when it was surprising that instead of they have 9 members, I guess, in Sindh Assembly, but PTI is not. So far it's not backing him. Rather, MQM, and within MQM we have heard that there have been differences on giving party tickets and those things. But ultimately, I think it would be, it will go to Ali's party's benefit, when there would be differences within MQM, because they have been claiming that we we would bag all the 12 seats. Let's see, because but we have seen in the the previous few days back when there were elections for 6 seats. PTI, instead of People's Party, they had 3 seats, but they gained one more, and that was because of their I would say that was their smart politics or clever politics, that they made seat adjustments. They bagged support of JUI, which was actually not taking part in the election of either the speaker, deputy speaker, and the prime ministership. So that was also a success of their negotiations. That might we never know that all of the 12 seats, if they come up with those, which is being claimed by People's Party's leaders. We have to see that.
Fair enough, fair enough. I know that Ali, you have to leave. Therefore, thank you so much for joining us and being with us today. Irfan sir, before we talk more, as far as the Senate itself is concerned, some of old, of course, parliamentarians, like we said, within the Senate, senators are going to be leaving, are going to be retiring this time. A lot of new faces, it seems. Do you think that itself will be a big change? Because as far as the Senate itself is concerned, it's also looked at, it's a far more traditional body in that regard than, for example, the National Assembly. Because, in the sense that, of course, direct election has its own ramifications, it has its own effect, and the kind of nominations and, being the process in the Senate is very different. So you think it's going to mean a change, a policy change also overall?
MAHRUKH, we have to keep in mind that the framers of the Constitution, when we had this bicameral system, in this system, actually, where National Assembly members, they are elected by the people, directly elected people. And here you need you would say, you have to rely on maybe on electables. But when it comes to Senate, it is the party position in the respective assemblies that decides those. And this also provides an opportunity to the political parties that if those people who they consider the best, who can serve the best, maybe they are not able to be elected as in the direct elections, maybe for one reason or the other, they can choose those people. But here what we see is that it is not on the basis of that. It's maybe sometimes it's the basis of loyalties. It's sometimes it's it's you have to return favor to somebody and those things. And also in many cases, I don't know, we would we would come up with the when the final results would come, that in the past we had seen that even those seats, especially in KPK, because now the situation might be different, but earlier in KPK and Balochistan, lots of money was used by the candidates to get elected for Senate. And then, it's, of course, being a senator has its own privileges.
Fair enough, fair enough. Irfan sir, we're going to be taking a short break, after which we'll be right back to talk more. Please stay with us. Welcome back. We have with us Lieutenant General Retired Raza Muhammad Khan. Raza, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Before Raza, I want to also talk about, of course, the recent very, very sad attack. Of course, that is we condemn it, and it's been condemned at all levels. We've seen 5 soldiers being martyred. Overall, of course, insurgency has always remained a concern, particularly the cross-border terrorism that comes invariably from India. As far as this latest attack is concerned, overall, what is your assessment of the situation?
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We all know that this terrorist attack happened in the month of Ramadan. And I believe, and I think the people of Pakistan and all Muslims would like to believe that those people who attack another Muslim country in the holy month of Ramadan, and they attack, Muslims, soldiers as well as civilians who are fasting. They really could not be Muslims. And if they're not Muslims, then obviously, there are other mercenaries or there are proxies of foreign powers, or there are some really misguided people who undertake such kinds of attacks. And therefore, I think the government of Pakistan, I am sure, is considering all options to stop these atrocities, whether they are being financed from India or Afghanistan or other countries who want chaos inside Pakistan. In addition to defensive intelligence-based operations or through the national action plans or the provincial action plan, I'm sure the government of Pakistan would be considering all available diplomatic, political, and all other measures, including proactive military operations, to ensure that these proxies are punished severely. And I think the government of Pakistan has solid evidence against that, and that has been, I'm sure that has been shown to the big powers, to the permanent members of the UN Security Councils. I think they need to be updated, and these powers who are supporting these terrorists, they need to be sternly warned.
Of course they do, but of course they do, and there's little doubt about that. But General Sahab, there is, we've seen cases like, Kulbhushan Yadav is just one of those cases. But it's also an extremely, extremely important one where there's irrefutable proof of, cross-border involvement, but little has been done. Little action and little, even condemnation overall from the international players has been too little too late. Do you think it's going to that stance, maybe, it may change, or do you think that we have to expect perhaps less there?
Well, I think the international community, particularly some of the big powers, who are now, the friends of India and others who would like, destability inside Pakistan, whether it is political or economic, in terms of the sabotage of CPEC, where Kulbhushan Yadav was assigned that task directly by the government of India through their intelligence agencies. So we should not expect much from them. It is amazing that even when India is killing, the citizens of these countries like Canada and the United States, they, I think, are quiet about it. So I think it is we, the people of Pakistan and the armed forces and the government of Pakistan, we'll have to, I think about every possible action to ensure that foreign powers in particular, they are stopped from doing what they are planning to do. And if they're hurting, the joint interest of Pakistan and China, and I believe that these terrorists are also hurting the interests of Iran and the interests of Afghanistan. And therefore, I think there should be a combined or a joint strategy by all these four countries to make sure that, all measures are taken, defensive as well as offensive, to prevent these terrors. And then within, the same context, I'd like to point out that first talking about Afghanistan, that I think this could be noted in the Guinness Book of World Record, that over 15% of the population of Afghanistan is living in Pakistan for the last 40 years. And, the 2.8 million or 3 million refugees, they have been forgotten by their own government. And particularly now, when they claim that there is relative peace in Afghanistan after 2021, after the Taliban takeover, and they even claim that their currency and their economic conditions is better than Pakistan. They can surely, I think, take back all the refugees, whether they are, registered or unregistered, in a phased program. And I think that would be one of the disincentives which must be on the table of the government of Pakistan, in addition to other disincentives in the form of, reduction of favorable trade agreements and transit trade agreements. So it must be clearly sounded, to the Afghan government at the highest possible level, at the level where things matter. And I mean, at the level of the supreme leader of Afghanistan, at the level of their defense minister, their minister of interior, who controlled, the various groups, terrorist groups, who are enjoying safe havens in Afghanistan, whether they are TTP or BLA or Al Qaeda or other proxies of India,
these safe havens that are being provided. I want to include Irfan Sahab in the discussion, then I'll come back to you. Irfan Sahab, these safe havens that are being provided, the action that comes too late, how sincere the Afghan government is. What are your thoughts on this? Of course, we know that, on the one hand, we don't know how much of the situation is under their control. On the other, of course, is how sincere they are in trying to control that kind of terrorism. To which do you attribute it?
MAHRUKH, first of all, that incident, I mean, it's not only this incident, we have been seeing every day, almost daily incident, where our soldiers from Pakistan Army or even the other law enforcement agencies personnel and the civilians, they have been killed, and they have been killed by these terrorists. But when it comes to, if you recall that after the APS incident in Peshawar, the operations that were launched by the Pakistan military, they resulted into, we had lots of improvement in the situation. But especially since the Taliban, they came to power in Afghanistan, what we have seen is that TTP, which was weakened, whose, in urban areas, their, the economic structure and their organizational structure that was, badly damaged. But they regrouped themselves, and Pakistan has been taking up this issue with Afghanistan and with the interim government of Afghanistan. But so far, what we have seen is that other than the lip service, we haven't seen any action. Rather, what we have seen is that these TTP guys, they are launching even more sophisticated attacks. They have the military gears, which is more sophisticated, which is originally that was left by the NATO forces, or it belonged to the former Afghan army. So that has been resulting into, lots of casualties and damage to Pakistan. Saying all this, we have to keep into consideration, this is not only, like Jan Saab has mentioned, he has given a reference that this is not something which is just Pakistan, it should be taken as Pakistan specific. Because Doha Accord, we know that in Doha Accord, it was pledged by the Taliban that they will not allow any foreign militant on their soil, but they are not doing that. Similarly, these TTP guys, I mean, it's now not, you can say, a small group. Rather, they are into a full-fledged insurgency sort of thing, where they have the chapters, they have an organizational structure where they have shadow governors and all that. So it's not possible that without the apparent artistic.
whether
Yes.
it's possible this kind of operation to be launched and the constant interference without any involvement of the government, or is that possible then?
Of course, it cannot be. I mean, such a group, operating with this intensity and expanding, it is not possible without the support of, some foreign elements. But I mean, we call India is one, but Afghanistan itself, with whom we have suffered because of the Afghan conflict. We have suffered not only in terms of lives, but our economy, our socially
And the stability, which is of course the cornerstone of any economic growth that we want to achieve, to which we are seeing government make efforts across the board, all the stakeholders trying their best to get the ball rolling as far as economy is concerned. I want to go to General Sahab. I'll come back. General Sahab, there's also a UN report that talks about a TTP's new base in KP. It highlights TTP attacks. It also asks Pakistan to withdraw and make from peace efforts. To how would you respond to this new finding or revelation in the report?
I think this report has a few new things, but they have been producing such reports quarterly. Unfortunately, the UN should be taking these reports directly to the UN Security Council for action against those powers who are using the proxies against Pakistan. And I think unless the various chapters of UN Security Council, like I would say chapter 7, not chapter 6, are invoked, these things, these sharing of information with Pakistan and the various members of the Security Council is good. But I think the United Nations Security Council needs to do more on this account. And I think our envoy at the UN had very recently even suggested that the United Nations must institute a very powerful inquiry to find out how are these terrorists armed with the latest NATO caliber, most sophisticated weapon systems, including night vision goggles and devices. Where are these weapons coming from? If the United States itself has said that they are not the ones who left these weapons and equipment back, so there are some people, I think, who are still providing these to the terrorists. So that is one thing, I think, which the UN needs to do. Secondly, I think once again we need to, I think, work with our partners like China and Iran to share intelligence as much as we can, including the government of Afghanistan, hopefully, to ensure that these terrorists are stopped from what they're doing. The border fencing, particularly between Pakistan and Afghanistan, must be completed now, when the new government is in place. And I'm sure, this will be high on their agenda to allocate the various funds for the purpose. Also, to give greater allocations to the two provinces, which is KP and also Balochistan, who are now the frontline provinces. Give them the needed NFC award of 1 to 3% that was promised to them sometimes back for their counterterrorism department of the police to increase their capacity of the police department, also to give them more intelligence resources and equip them at least to the level of what the terrorists have with them. And this needs to be given across the political divide. It needs to be given complete political ownership Unless this is carried out, I think these terrorists will continue their attacks.
Do you think that, General Saab, I'm going to take Irfan Saab's opinion on this also. Do you think that we need to revisit the Afghan policy? There has been much talk about that also.
Is this question to me, General Saab?
Ji, General Saab.
Yes, I think the Afghan policy of the government of Pakistan, I think, is very clear. But I think it has been communicating its concerns to the government of Afghanistan, and that is the right policy. And I think those efforts, the diplomatic and political efforts, needs to continue. But I think we need to go beyond that, because that is not having the desired effect. And now other means at the disposal of the government, which I mentioned earlier, and which are actually sanctioned through the UN Charter for the self-defense of all countries. They all need to be invoked, and they need to be very clearly, specifically communicated to the Afghanistan government. And if nothing works, then I think long-range standoff weapon systems needs to be used against these terrorists in cross-border operations as well, because that would what the people of Pakistan would now desire to end terrorism and the killings of innocent Pakistanis once and for all.
Ji, Irfan Saab, your comments on this? Unfortunately, we're running out of time.
MAHRUKH, yes, I mean, I don't expect from the UN that they would be taking any concrete measure that would benefit us, but the regional approach, that especially collaboration with China, with Iran, that can work. And more than that, I think, those factors that are providing them the recruits. I mean, one of the factors is that, we have the political instability, we have economic instability, and they have very strong media wings where they have been propagating that the Pashtun, in KPK and in Balochistan, unfortunately, you would be surprised that during the last one and a half year, non-Pashtun, some Baloch militant groups, they are cooperating with TTP on those the same, issues that those Baloch, they have been raising, that we are left behind or resources are misused and those things. So we have to work on those issues as well. Other than kinetic operations, yes, of course, but I doubt that if we, directly go into Afghanistan through some long-range missile or whatever, we have to see the consequences of that, because, in that would also provide, many others pretexts that the same can be used by them as well. When we have to be clear in our policy regarding that, if it is possible. Rather, I think the approach where the Taliban, Afghan Taliban, they should be forced, they should be, they should be compelled to assist us in this regard, because this is something which is directly, it's not only, the economic losses, but also the life losses. Even the officers, the common spy, and so much we have seen, and we cannot tolerate it going on for this, and that is detrimental to our future.
Right. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. Thank you so much for being with us. Lieutenant General Retired Raza Muhammad Khan, thank you for joining us. Irfan Ghauri Saab, thank you for your very valuable time. Ali Rashid, thank you for joining us today. Overall, of course, Pakistan has a no tolerance policy as far as terrorism of any kind is concerned. And of course, Pakistan's army, the government, is resolved to ensure the safety of all its citizens. Of course, the attack is condemnable on all levels. Of course, Pakistan will take action and continues to have all capacity to guard its borders. Thank you so much for joining us today on Perspective.